Welcome back, everyone. We're doing another deep dive today.
Oh, this is going to be a good one.
Yeah, I think so. We're going to try to understand Voldemort.
But
We're going to go beyond just, good versus evil.
Right.
And really get into, how he became who he was.
That's fascinating.
And we're going to use the 6th book.
Half-Blood Prince.
Yep, Half-Blood Prince, to look for those early signs,
Yeah.
Were there clues all along?
Right from the beginning.
Yeah. Or did something happen
Ooh, good question.
that turned Tom Riddle into exactly Lord Voldemort?
It makes you wonder, when you think about it, how much his story is like Harry's. Both of them, orphans.
Right.
Difficult childhoods.
Yeah.
But totally different path.
Completely different paths.
So what was different?
Yeah. What happened?
Let's start at the beginning.
Okay, the orphanage.
Yeah.
Dumbledore takes Harry to this,
Kind of a bleak place.
yeah, bleak for sure,
It's described as shabby.
but spotlessly clean.
Spotlessly clean. That's interesting.
Right. What does that even mean?
I know, right?
Okay, and then there's Mrs. Cole.
The matron.
Yeah.
The head matron.
Not a warm and fuzzy lady, I bet.
No. She's described as,
Sharp.
yeah, sharp, definitely.
No nonsense.
And you get the feeling that,
Maybe she liked a little gin to take the edge off.
yeah, probably. And it's during this visit that Dumbledore
Oh, he does something.
uses magic, a little subtly.
You mean when he's talking to Mrs. Cole?
Yeah, and he waves his wand
Over a blank piece of paper?
and says, "This will make everything clear." So smooth.
Right. But it makes you think.
What did he already suspect?
Exactly. Why go to such lengths?
Unless he knew something was up.
Yeah, with Tom.
Right. Even then.
But anyway, back to Mrs. Cole.
What does she have to say?
She describes Tom, young Tom,
Go on
as
now.
she calls him a funny boy,
Yeah.
but quiet.
But he disturbed the other kids.
Oh, that's not good. No, she says they were terrified of him.
But she couldn't prove anything.
Nope, never any evidence.
Really?
She says, let me see if I can find the exact quote.
Okay.
Okay, here it is. If things disappeared, well, it was always Tom who was blamed. Couldn't prove a thing, though.
So even as a kid,
Yeah.
he was already controlling people.
Scaring them, for sure.
Without a trace.
And remember how she mentions that
Yeah.
he liked to collect things?
Like a little magpie.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if that's,
Connected to the Horcruxes later.
ooh, yeah, maybe.
The need to possess things, never let go.
Yeah, that's good. And Dumbledore, later on, he analyzes Tom's behavior.
At the orphanage.
Right.
Yeah.
Says he was self-sufficient.
Like to work alone.
Very secretive.
That isolation.
Yeah.
That's a big part of Voldemort, isn't it?
It really is. He never formed real connections.
Drove him to seek power.
Yeah. And it left him lonely.
Tragic, in a way.
I guess so.
But to understand that loneliness, where it came from, we need to look at his family.
His family, right. And for that,
Dumbledore and Harry use the pensive,
of course, to see those old memories.
and they focus on the Gaunts.
The Gaunts. Voldemort's ancestors.
On his mother's side,
Yes. Now, what strikes you when you compare young Tom Riddle?
to the Gaunts.
Well, he looks nothing like them.
That's right. Not a single trace.
No Gaunt features at all.
He looked just like his father.
His muggle father.
Yeah, it's like he rejected that side of himself.
The Gaunt side.
Yeah, all that poverty and, well,
They were obsessed with being purebloods.
but they lived in squalor.
Totally. They were violent, too.
Probably all that inbreeding.
Yeah, generations of it.
And Marvolo Gaunt, Voldemort's grandfather,
Yeah.
he had those two prized possessions.
The locket, right.
With the Slytherin mark,
And the ring.
that ring was important.
We find out later it was a Horcrux.
A Horcrux. Wow.
Yeah, but we'll talk about those later.
Okay, sounds good.
Anyway, Tom Riddle Sr., Voldemort's father.
He abandoned Maripé, right?
Yep, while she was pregnant.
Must have been devastating.
And Dumbledore thinks the love potion wore off.
So she tricked him into it all.
Sounds like it.
Sad story.
Yeah, and then, you won't believe this,
Well,
young Tom Riddle, he murders his whole family?
what?
I know. Uses the killing curse.
On his own father.
And his grandparents.
Oh, wow.
And then he frames his uncle,
Morphin Gaunt.
yep, for the murders,
And all Morphin cared about.
while being dragged off to
Yeah.
was his missing ring,
The Horcrux.
the one Tom stole.
Wow.
It's like
all connected.
Yeah, twisted but connected.
Okay, so then Tom Riddle goes to Hogwarts.
Of course.
And guess what?
Let me guess. Slytherin.
Slytherin instantly.
Figures.
Dumbledore even says he learned about Slytherin talking to snakes.
Right away.
Perhaps that very evening.
He was drawn to that dark power.
He was. And he was so disappointed.
By what?
His father's name wasn't at Hogwarts.
So he rejected that side.
Completely. At first, anyway, until he realized the power of magic.
Yeah, that's when he shed the name Riddle.
And embraced his mother's side.
But twisted it, you know.
To fit his own dark ambitions.
Totally. Like he was always searching.
For something.
Yeah, to fill that emptiness.
Power, maybe.
Power, control.
But there's this one memory.
With Slughorn.
Yes! Horace Slughorn.
Like the potions master.
It shows just how manipulative Tom Riddle was.
Even as a student?
We should talk about that.
Definitely.
Like
time.
Okay, sounds good.
So that memory with Slughorn?
Yeah.
It's like unsettling.
What is?
Watching young Tom.
Riddle.
Right, Riddle.
Okay.
He's just so charming.
But in a, like, calculated way, right?
Exactly. He's gathering these students around him.
Oh, yeah, like his own little gang.
Exactly. And they're all...
They just want his attention.
Yeah, like Slughorn even says...
What does he say?
They all seem to want to please him. Be noticed by him.
Yeah, it's creepy.
It reminds me of, you know...
The Death Eaters. Yeah. Like later on, it's the same thing.
Voldemort's surrounded by followers.
Who are terrified of him.
But desperate for his approval.
He's a master manipulator.
Always has been.
Even back then.
So what does he do?
Well, he uses flattery with Slughorn.
Of course he did.
And gifts, remember?
Oh, yeah, the crystallized pineapple.
Slughorn's favorite. It's all very calculated.
And then he asks about Horcruxes.
That's right. Out of nowhere.
You can practically feel the
tension.
Yeah, like Slughorn is really uncomfortable.
I mean, who wouldn't be?
Right. And then the memory just ends.
With Slughorn refusing to answer.
Classic Slughorn, avoiding the tough stuff.
But think about what that means.
Tom Riddle was already thinking about immortality.
As a teenager?
It wasn't enough to be powerful.
He wanted to cheat death.
And Slughorn, he gave him the information.
Ugh, I know, even if he didn't want to.
Maybe it was vanity.
Yeah, maybe he likes feeling important.
Whatever it was, he gave Tom Riddle.
The keys to dark magic.
To the worst kind of magic. And it makes you wonder...
What?
How many others?
Helped Voldemort along the way.
Yeah, without even realizing
because they couldn't resist him.
His charm, his manipulation.
It's terrifying to think about.
But we should,
talk about Horcruxes.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know...
Good idea.
A Horcrux is basically...
An object.
Right, where a dark wizard or witch...
hides a piece of their soul.
Exactly. It's a way to live forever.
Yeah.
To cheat death.
But to make one, you have to...
Murder.
It's a horrific act.
It tears the soul apart.
And that torn piece...
goes into the object.
So that even if your body is destroyed...
part of you lives on.
Tied to the world through that object.
Makes you almost impossible to heal.
It's such a violation.
From yourself, of another person.
It shows a...
desperation.
Yeah, and a fear of death.
That's stronger than any morality.
And remember, Voldemort didn't just make one.
Oh no, he made several.
Scattered them all over the place.
So he'd be invincible.
A brilliant plan.
Twisted, but brilliant.
And that conversation with Slughorn
is what sets Tom Riddle on that path.
Toward becoming Voldemort.
It's like a turning point.
Yeah, a dark turning point.
But while all this is happening in the past...
we can't forget about the present.
Right. Harry's 6th year.
There's another story going on.
Draco Malfoy.
And the Vanishing Cabinet.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
We haven't even talked about that yet.
I always found Draco's story so interesting.
It's intense.
He's obviously up to something.
Sneaking around.
Spending hours in the room of requirement.
Whispering with Crabbe and Goyle.
And then, that scene in Borgin and Burke's.
Right.
He threatens Borgin.
Mentions Fenrir Greyback.
Like it's nothing.
A werewolf. A dangerous one.
Yeah, a family friend, he calls him.
It's clear he's in over his head.
Involved in something dark.
And Harry, he sees all this.
On the Marauders map.
That magical map that shows everyone at Hogwarts.
Right, the one created by,
James Potter and his friends.
The Marauder.
They were quite the troublemakers.
But brilliant, too.
So we know Draco is up to something.
But what is it? What's he doing?
It all comes down to...
the Vanishing Cabinet.
Yes, there's one at Hogwarts.
Broken, right.
And the other one is at Borgin and Burke's.
They create a passageway.
You can travel between them.
Send objects, even people.
And Draco is obsessed with fixing that cabinet.
But why? What's so important about that?
Think about it. Hogwarts is protected.
By powerful magic.
So it's very hard to get in.
Unless you have a way to bypass those protections.
And the Vanishing Cabinet?
Would be a secret entrance.
Right into the heart of Hogwarts. So you're saying Draco is trying to create a way
for Death Eaters to get in.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
That's scary.
Very scary.
But why Draco? Why him?
Voldemort, he thrives on fear.
And control.
Remember, he framed his own uncle.
Without hesitation?
He uses people, manipulates them.
Draco is just a pawn.
A means to an end.
But it's more than that, isn't it?
What do you mean?
Draco's parents.
Lucius and Narcissa.
They're Death Eaters.
Lucius really messed up at the Ministry.
Got sent to Azkaban.
So, Voldemort, he's punishing him.
By putting his son in danger.
Sending a message.
Loyalty or else.
That's how he operates.
This whole situation.
It's a mess.
Draco, caught between his family.
His own conscience, maybe?
He's struggling.
And Dumbledore knows about the threat.
Trying to stop it.
But how?
It's like a game of chess.
With really high stakes.
Lives are at stake.
And there's another player?
Who?
Snape?
Oh, Snape, of course.
He's a Death Eater.
But he's also loyal to Dumbledore?
Or is he?
His motives are so unclear.
We get glimpses.
Like when he seems to help Harry.
Warns him about danger.
But then, that scene where Harry overhears him.
I'll go to Malfoy.
It seems like he's helping Malfoy.
With his secret mission.
But is he really?
Maybe he's just gathering information.
For Voldemort.
I just don't know.
Snape is such a mystery.
But for now, let's focus on the attack.
On Hogwarts.
Draco's making a way for Death Eaters to get in.
But what's the end game?
What does Voldemort want?
I think it's obvious.
Right.
He wants Dumbledore dead.
He sees Dumbledore as
the biggest threat.
The only one who can stop him.
By taking out Dumbledore,
Voldemort wins.
He controls the wizarding world.
It's a brilliant plan.
Evil, but brilliant.
And to understand it fully,
we have to go back to
Horcruxes.
They're the key to Voldemort's immortality.
And Dumbledore is looking for them.
He thinks if he can destroy them,
Voldemort can be killed.
It's a race against time.
Dumbledore versus Voldemort.
With Harry and Draco caught in the middle.
Both of them manipulated.
Forced to make impossible choices.
To choose a side.
This is heavy stuff.
It is, but we need to go deeper.
Into the last part of the book.
To understand what happens next.
To see how it all ends.
And cover the truth about
Snape.
And the Horcruxes.
Okay, let's do it. So much happened at the end of Half-Blood Prince.
It's a whirlwind.
It is. I mean, we left off with the attack on Hogwarts.
And Dumbledore's search for those Horcruxes.
Right. And remember that fake one?
From the...
Yeah.
Share the note.
Signed R.A.B.
We finally find out who that is.
Regulus Arcturus Black.
Sirius's brother.
The one he said was a Death Eater.
I know. But the note says...
that he stole the real Horcrux.
And tried to destroy it.
He had a change of heart.
Wow, so he wasn't always bad.
Seems like he saw the truth about Voldemort.
And wanted to stop him.
Risked everything to do it.
That's amazing to think.
He was willing to betray his own side.
It adds a whole new layer to this story.
The Black family, I mean.
Yeah, it makes you think about loyalty.
And what it really means.
To stand up for what's right.
Even if it means going against your family.
Exactly. Regulus, he was...
a true Gryffindor at heart.
Maybe. Even though he was in Slytherin.
It just goes to show.
That people can change.
And that even in the darkest of places...
there can be light.
Regulus might not have destroyed the Horcrux.
But he made a difference.
He planted a seed.
Of doubt, of hope. That Voldemort could be defeated.
And speaking of defeating Voldemort...
we've talked about his choices.
that led him to darkness.
But what about Harry?
He also faced a lot of pain.
Loss, hardship.
So why did he choose a different path?
It's a question worth asking.
Both of them. Orphans.
With magical abilities.
But they reacted so differently.
Tom Riddle, he turned inward.
Isolated himself.
Saw power as the answer.
He feared love.
Thought it made him weak.
Harry, he craved connection.
He had his friends, his mentors.
Sirius, Lupin.
He knew the importance of love.
And loyalty, sacrifice.
Those connections, those are his strength.
They shielded him from the darkness.
Gave him the power to resist.
Resist Voldemort's influence.
Yeah, and choose good.
Choose love over hate.
It shows that even when things are hard,
When you've lost so much.
love can still be a powerful force.
A force for good.
So where does that leave us?
We've delved into Voldemort's
We've
darkness.
seen the terrible choices he made.
But we've also seen hope.
In Regulus Black. In Harry's unwavering goodness.
Tom Riddle's story is a warning.
A reminder that we all have the potential
For darkness.
But it's also about choice.
We can't choose our past.
But we can choose how we respond to it.
What values we live by, what kind of person we want to be.
Our choices have consequences.
They affect us.
And the people around us.
Tom Riddle's choices.
Led to destruction.
Harry's choices.
Offered hope, a chance for a better world.
That's a powerful message.
It all comes down to choice.
And it's a choice we make every day.
So, what will you choose?
This has been an amazing deep dive.
I agree.
Exploring Voldemort's character.
The battle between good and evil.
The power of love.
And above all, choice.
Thank you for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
We encourage you to keep exploring these themes.
Read the books again.
Think about the choices you make.
And remember,
there's always hope.